Hi all, Louise Edington, Cosmic Owl of Cosmic Owl Astrology, back to you with the week ahead forecast beginning January the 5th. Happy to be back properly out of the vacation cave, and also that the new moon has gained some light. So I'm all like, go, go, go. But before I dive into the week ahead, just a quick reminder that my free, totally free, apart from giving me your email, quantum astrology gathering starts on Monday. Each day there'll be interviews going out with some amazing astrologers on some amazing, mind-blowing subjects, and it's all totally free. So if you haven't joined that, the link is in the description, or it's quantumastrologygathering.com will take you there as well. Just enter your name and email and you will get the interviews in your email box. Also, I do want to say that the early bird, we extended the early bird price for my life-changing Venus Retrograde Journey, Heroine's Journey class. The early bird price, which is actually $100 cheaper than the full price, ends on January the 10th. I just like to encourage people to get in there early, so that we have an idea of how many we're going to have. And so, because it gets rather full, but it's all recorded, everything's recorded. And I can tell you that this Venus retrograde is off the charts. I began doing that class in 2017 with a similar retrograde, at least in terms of it being in Aries and retrograding back into Pisces. But this one, because of the other aspects involved, is just like mind-blowing. And it's astro-shamanic. We use all kinds of tarot cards, and in fact, that reminds me, I've got to get some cards for the week ahead. But also, I do myth. I talk about the mythical journey. I talk about the astrology, of course, and we do shamanic healing work in group. And it's all recorded, and you get just as much out of it from the recordings as you do the live calls. So it's just my favorite thing to do. I kind of like, it's every 19 months, and I'm kind of start planning the next one as soon as the first one ends. All right, so that link's below as well. Anyway, let's dive in. It's also going to be added to my website later today because I realized we hadn't added it to my website. So as usual on these week ahead forecasts, I look at the major transits. I do not talk about all the asteroids and extra things that I love putting into charts and working with. If you really want more of that, then I do them on my daily posts on Substack. So find me as Cosmic Owl on Substack, and of course I do it for my private membership community and during the class as well. We'll be looking at all of that. But for these week ahead forecasts, it's less cluttered, more basic. So we begin January the 5th, Sunday. The sun is in Capricorn, about halfway through Capricorn season. That seems to be going by really fast, right? Venus enters Pisces today, so she is there in the sign of Pisces as we start the week ahead. She's said to be exalted in the sign of Pisces, which is always lovely. And the nodes are at 0 degrees, which is the world point of Aries and Libra, which is at lunar maximum. As if you've been following along, everything is so heightened at this moment, and so that's how we start the week. So the first day for any major aspects, just getting one other thing up while we look at this. Okay, yeah, I did want to look at that. So, okay, January the 5th. The biggest aspects on January the 5th that perfect, other than the lunar aspects, which again I look at on the daily basis, are that Mars is moving away from the second opposition to Pluto, which, is bringing a big turning point of transformation, and Mars exactly aspects those nodes. Again, we're at lunar maximum, which means everything is peak. And so that's making this really powerful portal of transformation. I've talked about that loads. I'm not going to go over it all again, but I will say that Mars is the guide for the Aries North Node. And so this has a real, if it is to be, it's to me, kind of energy. So Mars aspects those nodes at 1:20 a.m. We also have the moon moving into the sign of Aries at 2 p.m. on January the 5th, and the moon spends about 2.5 days in each sign. And so adding to this feeling of ready to take action, the moon moving into Aries is heading towards the first quarter moon then, and you know, energy is going to really pick up after this, and the energy of change. Okay, so now we'll go on to January the 6th. That date will live in infamy, right? So on January the 6th at 5:44 a.m., Mars retrogrades back into the sign of Cancer. Now he'll hit the degree where he was at when he opposed Pluto for the first time on November the 3rd, 2 days before the US election. And January 6th is the date that Congress is scheduled to certify the new president. I say scheduled because with all this energy, things could change. So if you want the more political videos, look at my world events videos that I do with Kathy and Andy. So, you know, that's a big aspect. But also on that day, Mercury, who's well left the zone of the last retrograde now, comes up and makes a square to Neptune from the galactic center. And that is really like both confused thinking, but also about truth, faith, belief, and new information coming in through the cosmos, through to all of us. This is a big square, you know, because Mercury has spent a long time in Sagittarius, Neptune stationed direct at this degree. This is, if you think about the energy of the planet Mercury, really, Mercury is the messenger of the gods, coming between the gods and humans. Okay, and so anything on the galactic center is like bringing in waves of new information, especially around higher knowledge, faith, beliefs, philosophy, ethics, all of that kind of energy. So that's a really massive square that we've got, and that's exact at 8:55 a.m. on January the 6th. Quite the day for you know, Congress to see. And so later on January the 6th, the moon, as I mentioned, is in Aries, and at 6:56 p.m. we have the first quarter moon. That's the crisis in action, crossroads phase. Things that began at the 9-degree new moon on the 30th will be the intentions you set. It will be really time to take action on those. And Aries and Capricorn are both very driven signs because they're both ruled by horned animals, the goat and the ram. Okay, it's like time to take things head on. Perfect new year, really, isn't it? You know, in calendar terms. So you'll be doing that. You'll be going, okay, it's time to really kind of get moving here. And that's the day that my quantum astrology gathering launches on that day. So on to January the 7th, where things may have changed quite a lot, but we'll see, right? I don't want to make these ones. These are more about you. So on the 7th, we have very few major aspects, but the moon will finish the journey in Aries and move into rooted, grounded Taurus for about 2.5 days. And that actually occurs at 5:11 p.m. Things will start to settle down after a big rush of a start to the week in many ways, and it'll be saying, all right, get to work, get grounded, get to work, focus on doing whatever you're doing. And then we move on to just checking I'm not missing anything. Okay. And on to the 8th. January the 8th. Are there any major aspects? Sorry, I have highlighted them, but I have to move down my PDF. Mercury on January the 8th moves into the sign of Capricorn. So Mercury enters Capricorn at 5:29 a.m. and Mercury in Capricorn gets mind on the goal kind of energy. It's like, get your thinking straight. This is time to build, time to achieve, time to think where you're going with plans. But then Mercury, right after entering Capricorn, squares the lunar nodes at those world points. This is another point of change, but it's also about what you've kind of been reflecting on, what truths you've had revealed, and where you want to go and what you want to build. This is like perfect kind of launching plans kind of energy. This is kind of like make your business plan and say, I'm determined to go there. Okay, if you haven't already, or edit your plan or your life plan, the structures of your lives, what you want to change, what's happened, what's changed for you. The nodes are about to leave Aries and Libra. So it's that 18-month journey of that, about learning to take a stand, learning who you really are at your essence, and learning to not roll over and compromise for others for the sake of peacekeeping, being more determined to stand up for who you are and what you believe in. Okay, so that's on January the 8th. Mercury into Capricorn, Mercury square the nodes. And then late on January the 8th, the Capricorn Sun squares Chiron. Chiron is moved forward by 2 minutes from where he just stationed direct. And that is also this determined energy, this such determined energy, this Capricorn season, more than usual. It's like, no, we are going to be the change we want to see in the world. All right, so that's what it kind of feels like, whether it's within, because I always think healing comes from within. So you may find yourself very determined, setting up new routines, new structures. Don't get caught up on New Year's resolutions if you have already kind of broken them. I don't do resolutions, I set intentions. You can build up these new routines and things that you want to start the year with, over the first week or so. You don't have to do it all on the day one. I always think resolutions are kind of meant to be broken, because when I was young and a party girl, it was always like, we're going to drink and party anymore. Well, of course, then you were still out at midnight. So January the 1st hit and you were still, that was it. Game over. Joking, but January the 9th. January the 9th, things heat up even more. All right. So we've got the full moon coming on the 13th. So things are getting heightened. The moon's light is growing. The moon actually comes over from Taurus and trines the sun. So that's like the last major aspect before the full moon. But the biggest aspect of January the 9th, aspect wise, is Jupiter over here trying to Ceres. This is kind of saying about really change your thinking about how you meet your needs, how our needs are met collectively and community wise. Really kind of focus on what you want to create, what new story you want to write about around grief, forgiveness, and needs, and how you feel your needs and how society fills our needs. Okay, so that's another big day. But another thing that happens on the 9th is that the moon moves out of bounds again. Remember, we're at lunar maximum because the nodes are at 0, Aries, Libra, and that happens every 18.5 years. And that means the moon goes way out of bounds. So everything's more heightened emotionally at these lunar maximum times. The moon goes out of bounds again at 2:11 p.m. Eastern and at 26 degrees Taurus. And the moon will be out of bounds through the full moon until January the 14th at 3 Leo. And 3 Leo happens to be the degree of the third, Mars Pluto opposition. So, you know, there's these such potent times. So the moon goes out of bounds, and out of bounds means out of the norm, out of character. Things feel like rules are being broken, you know, all that kind of stuff. But also on January the 9th, Mercury goes out of bounds at 4:04 a.m. on January the 9th. So that's at 1 degree 20 Capricorn. So we've both got our thinking breaking the rules in the sign of Capricorn, the sign of structures, and the moon breaking the rules. So we've got mind and emotions going. It's time to shake things up and break out of the norm in so many ways. Mercury will be out of bounds until January the 20th, Inauguration Day, honestly. But enough on that for now. January the and then the moon will move into the sign of Gemini at 8:06 p.m. and be in the sign of Gemini out of bounds for about 2.5 days. It's less than that slightly, but approximately. So on to January the 10th. So you can see the moon is in Gemini. Out of bounds will meet Jupiter. So this could be some big ideas and big truths spoken, big things coming to light. This is just crazy energy. It's nuts, to be quite honest. But there's no other major aspects. Moon in Gemini is very curious, very chatty, very sociable. So you might just find yourself feeling very sociable for those days. January the 11th, moon still in Gemini. Eris, who, have I not got her here? No, because I don't normally look at her on this, but I am going to add her for this report because Eris stations direct at 24 degrees 23 minutes of Aries at 3:12 a.m. Eris, the truth teller, truth revealer of what's being artifice, you know, all that elite kind of playing nice, looking after each other rather than looking after the outcasts and things. Eris stations direct. And as you can see, she is in her closest aspect is a semi-sextile really to Uranus, but the moon does come up and aspect her as well. She's been retrograde kind of like, you know, she's very slow moving. So these station points are really the potent points, but she has been reflecting on how the I'm going to say the leaders are not looking after the outsiders, for want of a better word, and you yourself, how you're treating yourself. So she's stationing. So this is a really potent week for that as well, to again shake some tables, shake things up. Also, on January the 11th, the moon's nodes. I use the true calculation, so you may hear some astrologers say that the nodes move later because they use the average calculation. I think both can work, but I use the true. And the nodes move back into Pisces and Virgo. And that is a really big shift, and that's coming at 6:01 p.m. And that is like moving from a beginning to an ending. And we're in a 9-year now, which is also fulfillment and endings. And we're moving from the first sign in the zodiac, which is like very much driven to do things. We're moving into the cosmic soup. The nodes in Pisces and Virgo are all about like practical mysticism. It's yin signs. It's about interconnectedness and having meaning and doing the right thing. I'm really looking forward to this shift. But those nodes move at 6:01 p.m. Eastern on January the 11th. Another big change. Okay. And then the moon will move into the sign of Cancer, still out of bounds, of course, as I said, because the moon is out of bounds till January the 14th. And the moon will enter Cancer at 11:24 p.m. On to Sunday, and I will give you some of the Sunday aspects, but you'll get the next week ahead report then as well. The next week begins with that moon still out of bounds in the sign of Cancer, heading towards the full moon, which is on the 13th. And early on Sunday, the 12th, we don't have any major aspects, but I just wanted to kind of show you where it's heading at the end of the week, almost at the full moon. Later that day, the Mars-Neptune trine will occur. I'll talk more about that next week, but again, that is the second aspect of 3. So I'm quickly going to show you Mars trined Neptune. And Mars is our will, our drive, our energy. Mars is retrograde in a Cancer, which is very sensitive, very protective. Mars is more guardian-like in that energy, in my opinion. He's reflecting on that in his retrograde journey. But Mars trine Pluto, the first one was on October the 28th. You'll hear Kathy and Andy and I talk quite a lot about that. But that was the week that, for those in the US, you might remember Harris gave that big speech at the ellipse. It just seemed like she'd got this, like she'd won, and I think she did. And then this next one is on January the 12th, as all of this story is unfolding. And you can see that the nodes are now back in Pisces and Virgo. A lot is going to shift and change. And something from October the 28th is going to be revisited. And Mars and Neptune, that tends to be like very spiritual warrior, but also energy depleted. So it's on a full moon, everything's out of bounds, Mercury's out of bounds, the moon is out of bounds. We're at the day before the full moon. You may find it very draining, but it can also be very beautiful, spiritually connected kind of energy. So that's your week ahead. I'm going to pull you some cards, and you're going to get a little sneak peek of the cards I used for the Venus retrograde class. Now, there's a specific reason I used this deck. I bought it just for the class. Okay, but I'm not going to tell you what it is now. But you'll see them and you'll go, they're interesting, and you'll want to come and do the class because you should. Okay, so I'm just going to get the book because I'm just revisiting these cards. I've barely used them since the last Venus retrograde class, and that's okay because they were meant for that. And Venus is in Pisces now, so it feels very right that we use them. I'm looking for the seeds. Oh, here we go. So the first card I've got is the 6 of Seeds. Now this is like the pentacles, really, or the discs. Seeds is the earth energy, right? So the 6 of Seeds, these cards are kind of like for the whole week ahead, is I'm going to read you a quote. Grant that I may not so much seek to be loved as to love, for it is in giving that we receive. And that's St. Francis. And it says, I am gratitude. But this is, we are filled with faith, prosperity, and trust in life. The world feels generous. We feel generous, feeling blessed. We want to show our appreciation by offering something back. The gift of giving and receiving are similar. They are both acts of gratitude, but often muddled with our psychological needs. Overgiving and under-receiving both arise from the ego revealing issues around self-value, insecurity, inflation, and victimhood. How do we give and receive? Do you have any issues around either? May we give and receive with compassion and gratitude for all we experience as we journey through life. So that's the first card. Then we go to fire, some 10 of torches. Okay. I don't tend to read reversed with these cards. It just doesn't feel right. So this is 10 of torches. This is, I am transformed. I overcame myself, the sufferer. I carried my own ashes to the mountains. I invented a brighter flame for myself. And that's Nietzsche. This is, we have worked so hard on many levels. The outer and inner processes we have explored and experienced may have drained us. Remember, I said that Mars, Neptune, is approaching and can drain us. It has taken great resilience and courage to stay with it. At times, quite understandingly, we have been tempted to give it all up and walk away. Did you? If we decided to continue, we have not only survived, but we are now feeling the changes and transformation within us. Before our new way of being makes itself known, we will need to rest and contemplate our experience so that we don't burn out and become overwhelmed. Pause a while on this threshold and acknowledge that our mind, heart, and soul are clear and knowing. Our self knows what needs to be released and changed in our lives. Trust the way ahead. For now, we must take care. At times like these, our body needs to catch up with our soul. Our heart calls. There's a call to join that Venus class, if ever there was one. Anyway, but also, though, patience. I am patience. 7 of seeds. Those who contemplate the beauty of the earth find reserves of strength that will endure as long as life lasts. And that's by Rachel Carson. We too wait for our harvest to be brought in, but it seems it's not quite ripe enough yet. Patience is required. Rushing towards an ending can often be a mistake, and besides, the end means we have to begin again. I don't know, forever at the end, really. At the right time, our crops will reach their fruition, and then we will stand in awe and gratitude for what we have manifested and achieved. Until then, we can reflect upon our journey and see how far we have travelled. Our seeds have been planted and have taken root. They are now healthy and thriving, for we have tended them well. The rest of the journey is not yet revealed. Trust the process, water your crops, and wait. And that's your week ahead. Much love to you. I'll be back later with a video about Venus in Pisces, I think. Maybe. Okay, we'll see if I have time.